I was making $325,000 a year in 2015 as a snowboarder. You're making three, four, 500, 600 grand. You're doing pretty dang good. I have zero real estate depreciation. So I deduct my expenses and my taxable income is 253,000. Of that 253, I owe $52,000 in tax. Okay. That's scenario one. Scenario
Understood.
two with real estate. I'm making the same 325,000. Now I have real estate depreciation, which is a very powerful word. I've got 140,000 of depreciation
Mhm.
from my real estate investment. So I subtract that minus the same expenses I have, which is the 72,000. Now my taxable income is 113,000. So I'm paying 17,000 in tax, which is a $35,000 savings of tax purely because I'm investing in real estate.
Welcome to the Genius Talk podcast. I'm your host Atul Raj from the bestemailmarketer.com. And today we have Daniel Brisse with us. Daniel, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here with you guys.
Awesome, brother. So, for our listeners who don't know you, can you tell them who you are and what you do at Granite Tower Equity Group?
Yeah, you bet. Well, before I dive into Granite Towers, I'll give you just a little backstory, how Granite Towers came to be. So like many of your listeners, I grew up with big dreams as a kid. I wanted to be a professional snowboarder. And so being young and pretty naive, I went and told everyone about how I was going to be this big pro snowboarder traveling the world. And I got a lot of pushback. The one piece that I had on my side was my parents were extremely supportive. And when I told them about it, my parents, I still remember my dad saying, go for it. And, all the parents listening, just quick side story, you could never know what level of desire your kids are going to create for a goal. And I can't tell you how much it meant to me for my parents at a young age to say, go for it. So from ninth grade on to my senior year, I would snowboard all the time. After I graduated from high school, I moved to Salt Lake City. And I thought within 1 year I'd be this pro snowboarder. And I ended up going through a lot of failure is the best way I could put it. A lot of injuries, a lot of mishaps. At the end of the first year, here I thought I'd be this pro snowboarder. Nothing happens. And by the way, I'm broke. I'm living paycheck to paycheck, eating peanut butter and jelly, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Year two, I go back to Salt Lake City and this is in Utah, and think I'll be a pro snowboarder after year two. Nothing happens, eating peanut butter and jelly, working at Blockbuster. Year three, I come back thinking, okay, this is my year. I'm going to make it as a pro snowboarder. I actually get hurt severely. I dislocate my kneecap and my season ends. And at that point, I'm 20 years old. And in the snowboarding industry, either you make it by 21 or there is pretty much no chance because these brands need time to market you to sell their product. So that year I go to California, live with my brother for a little while, come back year four. And year four, my really good friend says, hey, Dan, you should go to Aspen, Colorado to compete in the Aspen Open. It's an open contest. And an open contest just means anyone can show up, pay your entry fee, and you pay $250. You get to do two runs. If you finish top 10, you go to the finals the next day. I ended up finishing sixth. The next day I show up for finals and I end up winning this contest and my snowboarding career took off. And I just had this really beautiful snowboarding career, dream come true, ended up being a part of X Games 6 times. I got a couple gold medals, couple silver medals. I'm on the cover of magazines and everything's going really good at Tool until I get to the point of seeing my hero buddies who are 5 or 10 years in front of me and I see their careers ending real time. And I get to know these guys well and their careers are ending and I see them just crashing and burning. I see them going back to being a grocery store, working at their grocery store, bussing tables at the restaurant, losing their homes, drug addiction. I mean, even suicide. Transitioning from a pro athlete to something else is difficult because your identity your whole life is I'm a professional athlete. And then when it ends, the question is just, who are you? What are you then? And a lot of times it's just, I don't know. So when I saw that Tool, I started realizing I got to start investing in real estate. I got to start putting the money I'm making as an athlete to work for me so I don't have to work as hard. So I started buying small properties. I bought a duplex in 2011. I bought a nineplex in 2012, bought a 24 unit deal in 2013. And then my really great friend who I've known since I was a young child, he's over there buying single family homes and his goal was to buy 100 single family homes by the time he was 30. And I said, hey, Mike, his name is Mike, we should buy an apartment together. So we bought a 28 unit apartment together. and really liked it, saw the cash flow, the depreciation and hedging the destruction of the dollar, and saw that this value was real. And so we started our company in 2017. So in 2017, Granite Towers Equity Group was formed. It's co-owned between Mike and myself, and we still do the same stuff today. We're looking for cash flow. We're looking for hedging against inflation or the destruction of the dollar, storage of value, and third is depreciation. And if we can find those three things, we're pretty buying that type of property, which is really in multifamily real estate. So that's how Granite Towers came to be.
Well, that's a good origin story.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so how do you identify markets and properties that is fit your value add investment strategy?
Yeah, good question. So, one of our main sources of adding value to our investors is creating passive income. So we're looking for deals in markets that will cash flow. So cash flow is the king in our business model for owning multifamily apartments. And just for your listeners, just in case they're not clear, cash flow is if you put $100,000 in a deal, and you get $12,000 a year from your 100 grand, you're getting a 12% cash on cash return or a 12% passive income return on your 100 grand. So a real life story here, real life case study. We buy a deal in Cleburne, Texas, up and coming market with population growth, job growth. There's not a ton of new build happening, so we know there's pressure on supply and demand. We acquire an 88 unit property, and we bought this property in 2019. We raised $2.1 million from our investor database, and we sold it in 2021. And the reason we sold it is because the market was going crazy. If you remember back in 21 here in the US, commercial real estate was at its all-time high. But what the point is that during the time of ownership for us, Atul, we ended up creating a average 12% cash on cash for our investors. So again, if you put 100,000 in, you're getting 12,000 a year or $1,000 a month or $3,000 a quarter. And that's your cash flow. Again, number one reason I started investing in apartments is because as my snowboarding career ended, or if you get your people that are listening, you got people who can see a career change is coming, or they just want more freedom when they're retiring. That's what my goal was, is to create that passive residual income so that my money was working harder for me. And the way we did it was very simple. We bought a property that was again, going back to your markets question, that was in a market where the supply was constrained, and we could verify that because occupancy was very high. 93, 94, 95% occupancy plus tells us there's pressure on the market. There's not enough units for the amount of rent tenants who are renting or residents who are looking to rent. And then all we did is we found a property that had some deferred maintenance, or we could upgrade a little bit to move rents higher. So we found this 88 unit deal. We put $500,000 of CapEx into it that we invested into the deal. We relocated an office. We put exterior LED lightings on the property, which reduced our utility expense. We put in 48 backyards. We did interior unit upgrades, new countertops, new appliances, some new flooring. And then we did a water conservation program, which reduces the water being used, which lowered our expenses. And what happens then is you have rent go up because the value is higher for the residents who are looking to rent, and your expenses were flat or came down and increased the net operating income, which is the value, how they value apartments. And so that's how we got our cash on cash to be 12% on this real life case study here in Cleburne, Texas, in that market.
By the way, at what time we should buy a plot and what time we should buy an apartment?
Say that one more time.
Okay, at what time we should buy a plot like a land instead of an apartment?
At what point would you buy a plot of land versus an apartment?
Yeah, yeah,
Is that the question?
yes.
Okay. Yeah, I can't answer much on that. As far as raw land, and buying a plot of land and new construction, all that is not necessarily my expertise. What we buy clearly is already built properties like 1985, 2000, 2005 product. We're buying product that's pre-built, already running with historical financials. So we can see exactly how the deals performed over the last 2 or 3 years.
Okay, okay, okay. So, can you share a specific example of a property where your team added significant value and what challenges did you face and how did you overcome them?
Yeah. Great question. So, like I shared in the beginning, passive income, hedging inflation, and depreciation are the three reasons I started investing in apartments. Nothing's changed. And the way we added tremendous value to another property, which is how we're hedging inflation, and essentially is, as we all know, the dollar is being printed by the Federal Reserve. And when we're late stage 5 of the debt cycle, like we are here in the US, the dollar's value is going down. So are your listeners, are they all over the world, or where are they based out of?
Most are from US, Australia.
Okay. Yeah. So if most are from the US, they're in the exact same boat here as us, looking to create uh, some security as the dollar goes down. A quick story that I think is worth hearing. When my grandma lived through the Great Depression, she had 5 children under 12 when her husband ended up committing suicide. So here's my grandma with 5 children under 12 years old, working her tail off. And she's working all her life. The most frugal woman I've ever met in my life, most diligent, always had a job, saved every penny she could. I've never seen someone live more efficiently after coming through the Great Depression here in the US. She was unbelievably efficient, and she saved every dollar she could. And the sad part that I realized when she got into her late years, she was 93 years old and she had to go into assisted living, and she had $96,000 she saved up through her entire life. And during that period of time, it cost her $9,000 a month to live on that assisted living facility. And so she lived there long enough where it literally drained her bank account to zero. And so that is the example of how inflation will wipe people out who are saving dollars. As most people know, in 1971, they changed the dollar to a currency. And currency, you don't save as your end means. Now we use it to create wealth. So going back to your question, Atul, how do you use apartments to hedge inflation and add tremendous value? Going to another real life case study, and I'm only going to talk about things we've done. I don't like to listen to people who are like talking on theory. This is something we've done. We owned the deal. We exited the deal. An 84 unit deal. Purchase price is $4.75 million. Sale price of $6.75 million. And an example of what we did here is we ended up putting in dollars to interior upgrades on our property. We did a $30,000 playground, and we spent $80,000 on water conservation. So what did that do for us? For the 420 grand we put in, we upgraded the interior of these properties. Residents wanted to pay more for rent. The $30,000 playground, the residents were like, wow, what a beautiful playground for our kids to play on when we're hanging out at home on the weekends. $80,000 water conservation. Every time they flush the toilet, every time they turn on the water faucet, there's just less water coming out, which brings the utility bill down. And what that
Yeah.
does is it brings up our net operating income. Again, remember, income minus expenses is net operating income. And that net operating income controls the value of the property to some extent. So we did that over a 2-year period, and we exited, and we gave our investors a 1.8 equity multiple. Or very simple terms, if someone put 100,000 in, we gave them 180,000 back on our exit 2 years later. And so that's the same story as Cleburne, Texas, the deal I talked about before, just another deal. And that's how we're hedging inflation. We're using real estate that is affected as they print money in a positive manner to quickly enhance the value by doing real things that we can control, like adding this value I'm talking about right here.
Okay, so how do you balance risk and reward while investing in all those things?
Yeah, risk and reward, really for me, it's more of what you know. So if you don't know what you're doing and you don't have experience with it, it's very risky. If you know what you're doing and you know what your goals are, again, my goal is passive income, hedging inflation, and depreciation. So if I don't know how to create those outcomes through an asset we can control, it's very risky. Where if we've done it over and over and over again on a rinse and repeat model, it becomes very safe. For example, for me as a snowboarder during my snowboarding career, I had really nice income, pretty high income. But unfortunately, I'm in the self-employed tax bracket. So my tax bill is, 40% of my income on some years. And nobody
Mhm.
told me that as a little kid growing up that, hey, if you become a pro snowboarder, you're going to be taxed 30 to 40% of whatever you make, unless you can find a way to shelter some of that income. And so for the first several years of my snowboarding career, I had these very large tax bills. And I just kept thinking to Tool, there's got to be a better way. Like,
Yeah.
there's no way this is how the rich, this is how the wealthy handle their taxes, which I'm totally was right. So I'm looking for books, searching like, hey, how do I get on the other side of this high tax pain? And what I learned is you can use real estate to reduce your tax pain legally. And so a real life case study, again, I'm only telling you things that I've actually done. Without real estate, let's just say for in 2015, when I look at my tax return, my CPA helped me figure this out. I was making $325,000 a year in 2015 as a snowboarder. So like professional snowboarders, you're not making millions the way it is. You're making 3, 4, 500, 600 grand. You're doing pretty dang good. So I'm making 325,000 a year. I have zero real estate depreciation. I do have some expenses, right? Because I'm running a small business. So I deduct my expenses and my taxable income is 253,000. Of that 253, I owe $52,000 in tax. Okay. That's scenario one. Scenario two, with real estate, I'm making the same 325,000. Now I have real estate depreciation, which is a very powerful word. Depreciation. If you don't know about it, you got to dig in with your CPA. I've got 140,000 of depreciation for my real estate investment. So I subtract that minus the same expenses I have, which is the 72,000. Now my taxable income is 113, paying 17,000 in tax, which is a $35,000 savings of tax purely because I'm investing in real estate. And so how do you qualify for that? You got to qualify as a real estate professional. Those are things that your team needs to teach you or you need to go and learn. Otherwise, you're never going to understand how to behave in order to qualify for those tax savings. So that's another way to use real estate to drastically change the speed in which you create wealth. Because if you can use more of your money to invest in real estate, because that's
Mhm.
the way the tax law is set up, the quicker you're going to move forward in life as far as financial goals go.
Okay. Suppose someone want to invest and they are looking for partner. Okay, so that you both can invest together on a real estate. So how can you find the right person and have a lasting relationship with a partner?
Yeah, that's a great question. So if you're looking for investors to invest in your deals, or you're looking for partners to do deals with you, it's very easy to go to different real estate meetups. They're all over the country in the US. I'm not sure about India, but in the US, there's real estate meetups all over the country. And as you go and network, let them know, like, I'm here to create relationships with people to do deals together. And I'm curious, is that something you're interested in? Here's my experience. Ideally, you have a track record. And if you don't have a track record, what value can you bring somebody who does? So value could be that I found the real estate deal and this is why we're going to buy it. Value could be that, hey, I have investors who are looking to place capital. Value could be, hey, after we close this deal, I'd love to be on the ground managing this deal, managing the CapEx, do the asset management. So those are three ways to bring value to anybody. And if you have one of those three, you can bring value and join a team to do deals. So that's one way to go about it. The other way to go about it is to go to many, many different events, get on podcasts, create relationships with family offices and have a company that's already established and raise capital from these many different groups.
Okay. Okay. So for our listeners who want to connect with you or want to get some help from you, where can they go?
Yeah. So if investors want to get to know us and learn more about what we're doing, we have a investor database that they can be on. And in order to get on that list, you just go to www.granitetowersequitygroup.com/contact us and just put your information in there and we will get to know you. Cause really at the end of the day, what we're looking to make sure is that the people who want to be on our mailing list have the right foresight, have the right interests, have similar investing goals. So we're not just sending out a bunch of spam emails. And what will happen then is the person will get on our database. And as we do deals throughout the coming years, you will get invites or see Granite Towers Equity Group, new deal. We're having a live webinar. And as you build that relationship up with us, we get to know you and you get clear on your investing goals. You'll get to see a bunch of deals over the course of the next years, several years, and you'll get much more comfortable with what our deals look like. They're all very similar, similar location, Dallas, Nashville, value add strategy. And so at the end of the day, what I would just say to your listeners is if you like the idea of passive income, hedging inflation and depreciation, that's something we can help you with. If you're looking for something else, major capital gains, flipping, we may not be the right, place for you guys to come. So that's who we are.
Okay, brother. So looking back when you started, okay, what's one lesson you will tell yourself if you could restart today?
Gosh, if there's one lesson I would tell myself and looking back, it would be I probably would have started earlier. I would have got trained by a professional earlier.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you can't start earlier, the best time is now. And it's so much about what you know and who you know. So the cool part about real estate investing is that there's a lot of people in the world that are doing it and you can partner with, so you don't got to do it on your own.
Yes. You know what? When you said like start before,
Yeah.
uh, I was answering the same question on my mind. I mean, answering the same thing.
Yeah, yeah, I would have started earlier. Yeah, yeah, I would have started earlier and just got trained by a professional earlier. And if you don't have the training, reach out to us as well. I can direct people if they're looking to get, professionally trained, reach out to us. I know many people in the industry. I've been doing this since 2012. Many different resources to get dialed in, to get onto either a mentoring program or to work with a company to get training. Because you definitely want to be trained. You don't want to go buy these deals without a lot of pre-training. There is a steep learning curve in the beginning that's critical to get clear on.
Okay, brother, you're so generous. Okay, so thank you so much for joining us, and it was really fun chatting with you.
You bet. Thanks for having me on. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too.